the bad man stop?
Oh, this bad man will never stop because this is Tim with Online Big Blue bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. It's Friday, a couple days away from the game against the vaunted Chicago Bears, the monsters of the Midway. I will be there. Rain, sleet, snow, hail. I'm going to be standing in the parking lot. I got a poncho all decked out in blue. I'll be. It's retro jersey day. It's throwback jersey day. You got to love it. Want to talk about Saquon Barkley? Want to talk about the injury reports? Want to talk about a few other things, Giants? But let's get into Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley looks like he's turned back the clock. It's back to the days of yore. It's back to that rookie season. Well, maybe not the rookie season, but somewhere between that rookie season and that second year, we are finding something. He is finding his success again. He is finding the holes. He is attacking the holes. He's running up the middle. He's leading the league in rushing. He has the explosive big play ability that we've been looking for him for the last 2 years. And you know what? Now we might end up trading him. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. And I'm not saying that we should trade Saquon Barkley, but you need to look at this from a status standpoint. If Saquon continues to excel, if Saquon continues to move the pile forward, move the needle back, let's say, to that rookie season, you have to consider it if the Giants are not in playoff contention. If the trade deadline if the NFL trade deadline rolls around and the Giants are not in contention, you have to consider moving on from Saquon Barkley. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying you need to do it. I'm not saying you have to. But let's say November 30th is the trade deadline. Let's say the Giants are out of contention. Let's say the Eagles or someone has run away with the NFC East. And at that point in time, you have a feeling that maybe you can re-sign Saquon Barkley. Maybe you can't re-sign him. Everyone's under the assumption that if Saquon stays with this team this entire season, that he's going to re-sign with the Giants. That's not a given. Yes, we could use the franchise tag on him, of course, but the way that Joe Schoen is protecting his cap space for 2023, I doubt he would franchise Saquon Barkley. I just don't see that happening because he's paid like the 8th highest running back in the league. You would probably have to, if he has a season like his rookie year, you'd probably have to pay him in the top 5. And I just don't see the Giants doing it. And you also have to consider the fact, does Saquon Barkley want to come back or does he want to go someplace and win? They always say there's no better place to win in this country than in New York. If you win in New York, you are a god. You are a mecca. But maybe Saquon wants to go to a perennial winner. We don't know. We have no clue right now. He could say all the right things that he wants to stay in New York, but he's saying that in October, which is tomorrow. He may not say that after the season's end. So what does it look like to trade Saquon Barkley? And we discussed this a little bit. During this live stream the other day with the Dahmer. I'm thinking that if you're going to trade Saquon, you probably can move him for a 3rd round pick. Unless a team is extremely desperate, I don't think anyone's going to give you a 2nd rounder for a 6-7 game rental. I just don't see that. Now, potentially you could use, I potentially said maybe you move on from him for like a 3 and a 6. And maybe you have some contingencies built in for that 3rd rounder. You say maybe it goes up to a 2nd rounder if he plays X amount of games and the team makes the playoffs. But then if you do that, you may have teams that say, okay, great, we're going to give you a 3 and a 6, but that 3 goes to a 4 if he gets hurt or if we don't make the playoffs. For a running back, the trade market is very interesting. I always go back to the Herschel Walker trade. Herschel Walker at the time was the mecca of running backs when he was traded to the Minnesota Vikings. He was the mecca. He was the end all be all for a couple seasons. And then he goes on the Minnesota Vikings and it turns out to be, a horrendous trade for the Vikings and helps rebuild the entire Dallas Cowboys situation. They got 8 draft picks, including 3 first rounders and 3 second rounders and a bunch of players. And it was just one of those things that it worked out well for Dallas. It wrecked Minnesota. So ever since then, I think the market for running backs, and that's going back to 89. I think the market for running backs, teams have figured out you can get a running back in the later rounds. You can get a free agent running back, an undrafted free agent running back. Just take a look at Jacksonville Jaguars, and you can make it work. Now, unless this team is a perennial team that thinks they are going to the Super Bowl, unless you think you're like Buffalo, or unless you think, like not the Eagles, but, if you think Kansas City, if you're thinking that a team that right now, maybe Green Bay, that needs a running back, because you never know what happens. You never know what injuries can occur. But like I said, the market for a rental for Saquon Barkley is not going to be that high. And you have to go back to the fact that, Gettleman held on to players sometimes that he probably should have moved on from and did not get the value, did not get the assets. So it's one of those things that we have to seriously take a look at what assets you can get for him. Plain and simple. What assets can we get for Saquon Barkley? What can make our team better in 2023? But like I said, right now I am not even considering trading Saquon Barkley. Right at this moment in time, I'm not even contemplating it, because you know what? The Giants are still 2-1. The Giants positionally have some games it's some winnable games right now. You really need to take this game against the Bears, because once we finish with the Bears, you figure this: you got the Giants and the Packers. Then you got the Giants and the Ravens, and then you got the Giants in Jacksonville. That is no longer a pushover game. The Jacksonville Jaguars, I've told people to watch out for this team at the beginning of the season. That is no longer just a pushover game. Then you got the Giants in Seattle. If it was the Giants at home, I would feel better, but Geno Smith has played well the last couple of weeks, which is shocking to say. So again, you're playing against the 12th man. That's not an easy game. Then you got the Texans at home, which hopefully is a winnable game. The Lions at home is no longer a game that I've just penciled in as a win, because the Lions offense looks spectacular. It's just their defense can't hold anybody. Then you got the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Vikings, the Colts, and the Eagles. So after this game, we have a pretty tough stretch, a pretty tough 4-week stretch until we take on the Texans at home on the 13th. And then again, we have, after the Texans and Lions, we have 4 divisional games in a row, and then a 5th divisional game at the end of the season. So it's not going to be an easy road to hoe with this team. So we have to like I said, we have to look at and consider, after that November 24th game against the Cowboys, are we keeping Saquon Barkley, or are we moving on? It's just something to ponder now. It's not something that we need. Like I said, it's not something that we're going to need to address now. But I'm telling you now, as the season progresses, this is just, as he continues to come back to form, this is something that we have to keep a look at. This is something that this is a situation we have to monitor. We have to monitor the injury reports. We got to monitor the trade market. And we kind of just have to see where this is going to end up going. And that's what, and like I said, I'm not going to worry about it right now. We'll worry about it, as we get closer into November, but I am not going to worry about it as we speak. We're going to go through some of the questionable players for the Giants on September 30th. Right now, you have Ward, who was questionable with a knee. He was limited in practice on Thursday. Leonard Williams is questionable as well. He didn't practice on Thursday. Cordell Flott is doubtful. He has he was a partial participant on Thursday as well. He's got a calf issue. Kadarius Toney is questionable. He was a non-participant on Thursday as well, but he's still got the hamstring issues. You also have Wan'Dale Robinson, who was still with the knee and still having some issues with the knee. So we have to hope that we can see exactly what's going to go on with that. Looks like Aaron Robinson's going to come back. He was limited in practice. Looks like he's going to be able to play on Sunday. Nick McLeod looks like he will be out, and same with Justin Lane. Justin Lane is in concussion protocol. So the good news is the Bears are just as banged up as the Giants in some regards. The Bears defense is something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Like I said, I'm not scared of their offense that much, but Herbert's been playing well. He's filling in for David Montgomery, and David Montgomery looks like he's going to be able to go on Sunday. I talked about it before. There are a few positional wide receiver groups for teams that I think the Giants corners are better than. I said the first week of the season, that was one of the first times it was going to be a push, and there's going to be other games. This is a game. Do I think the Giants corners are better than the wide receivers? Yes, but positionally, the entire unit against the running backs, the tight ends, and wide receivers, I'm going to call it a push again. But the Giants hopefully should gain an advantage if The CB2 position can play well enough. You know what? You got a missile out there now in in Xavier McKinney. So I mean, he's just rocking and rolling. And Julian Love's been playing well of late. As it is. I am concerned. I'm not concerned about the defensive line because the defensive line was not the issue last week. You minus some of the big runs. The issue is the linebacking core and the linebackers not being able to maintain their edge assignments and containing the run. So we have to keep an eye on that. Austin Calitro and Tay Crowder have just steadily gotten worse since the first game. So let's hope they return to some type of form. Let's hope they return to some type of below average form. But it's the Bear game. This Bears game is a winnable game. It is a winnable game from the Giants' perspective. If you would look at this game on paper from the last 10 years, this would be the letdown game. This would be the game after a loss that you think we can win, and all of a sudden the team, it's just a letdown. But we have to just kind of, I'm not going to say we should pencil this in as a win as we speak. But what I am going to say is we need to be conscious of the fact that the Bears have beaten some good teams. Whether it be in the rain or whether it be with Trey Lance or whatever, they still won because the fact we always talk about the Giants winning ugly. The Giants are 2-1 winning ugly. The Bears are 2-1 winning ugly too. The Bears and the Giants mirror each other. They truly do. They truly mirror each other at the moment. And that's what we're going to have to kind of worry about. And that's kind of what we're going to have to think about. And we're going to kind of have to go from there. So we're just going to have to play good. We got to go back to playing ball control offense. We have to maintain possession, hold on to the ball as long as possible. We got to stop setting up the run with the pass. That it's just not working after 3 weeks. If you haven't thrown for over 200 yards and after 3 weeks, we got to just abandon that and just go, like I said, to put the old Herman Munster, run. That's what we need to do. That's what we need to focus on. And if we can focus on that, and we can maintain balance on both offense and defense and control the clock, we should not easily win the game, but we should win the game by like 6-7 points. We're going to have a big stream maybe on Saturday or Friday. Today or Saturday, because we're not going to be able to have the Sunday stream because I'm going to be at the game. If you're at the game, I'm going to be in the red lot right next to the Verizon Center. You'll see a black Jeep with a big tent next to it. That would be me. I'll be sitting there having a beer. Come on down. We got a lot of beer. Have a beer. Don't cost nothing. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you can if you subscribe, if you can ring that by thinking of the means, that'd be awesome.